Hi, my name is Julian Hunt. I lead the technology development in Tadweer Solutions. We are presenting here waste to cooling, the technology to transform construction waste into sustainable food. Our main goals are to reduce water consumption and electricity consumption for cooling greenhouses. We also want to reduce the amount of waste landfill of rocks in Saudi Arabia, which is a huge problem in the country. In doing this, we will reduce CO2 emissions and help the country to adapt to climate change. Our solution is very simple. It's a rock pile close to a greenhouse, as shown in the figure, and the hot air during the day goes through the rocks, cools down the greenhouse. This diagram shows how the system works. We have mining waste, construction waste, which is transported and close to the greenhouse. During the night, cold air cools down the rocks so that during the day, hot air can go through the rocks, cool down, and then cool down the greenhouse. This technology has very low operational costs, CO2 emissions, and does not consume water. This is how it works. At night, the rocks are cooled. During the day, hot air cools down and goes to the greenhouse. The rock pile in the top is always hot. The rocks in the bottom are always cold, and the section in the middle is the part that stores the most of the heat of the cold during the night. Our solution is designed to compete with high-tech greenhouses, which are really expensive, 3,000 SAR per meter square. We use low-tech greenhouses. We add our solution, which we can sell for a reasonably high price, given the high cost for high-tech greenhouse. So the margins are large for us to get paid for our service. Water consumption is zero. Electricity consumption is 20 to 30 times lower than AC. Lifespan, 100 years. The cost is around 5 to 10 times lower than AC. Emissions, CO2 emissions, 100 times lower than AC. It's simple to operate, simple to build, but it requires a lot of area. For that reason, we focus in rural areas. For example, to cool greenhouses, poultry farms, grain storage, data centers, sustainable resources, industrial processes, warehouses, and power generation. Only for greenhouse, which is expected to reach 10,000 hectares by 2030, we expect the market for waste to cooling to be 50 billion SAR. And that's the market that we are focusing on. The potential for the technology is the largest in Saudi Arabia. The potential for the technology is equal to the daily temperature difference. So the temperature difference between the maximum during the day and the minimum at night to the power of 3. So the larger the temperature difference, it has a huge impact on the potential for the technology, because the cooling service you get is larger, the amount of energy you store in the rock pile is larger, and the losses are significantly smaller. Comparing waste to cooling with wind power, solar power, you have that the main components are rocks, which are plenty in Saudi Arabia. On the other hand, you have to buy wind turbines and solar panels. The cost is significantly lower, 5 to 10 times lower. You have everyday cooling, very predictable cooling, unlike solar and wind power. You use local resources, low maintenance. It stores energy and requires 4 times less area than solar panels. Solar panels requires a lot of area, so our solution also requires a lot of area, but it's less than solar power. The only problem is that it's not a mature technology. So for that reason, we are working on our first pilot plant in Chakra, Riyadh region. We will build a 500 tons prototype close to a greenhouse to cool down a section. After we prove the technology works, we're going to cool down the whole greenhouse and we'll start developing new customers. During the day, the hot air goes through the rocks, cools down the greenhouse. You can also have evaporative cooling if the cooling is not enough. At night, the cold air goes through the rocks, cool down the rocks, and then is ready for the next day. For high-tech greenhouses, if we implement this system, it pays back in 1.2 years. So it's a very cheap solution. This is the greenhouse we are planning to build the first prototype. It's here, and we are planning to pick rocks. There are a lot of rocks in Chakra, a lot of good rocks already sorted, ready to build the plant. We are going to extract the rocks from this site. We're going to transport the rocks for 40 kilometers to the greenhouse location. We already talked to the municipality, which allow us to use the rocks. There are a lot of equipment and personnel to help us build these rock piles. This location uses mostly limestone. We could also use basalt and granite, maybe sandstone, depending on the quality of the sandstone. And the market that we are focusing at the moment is to increase food production. So in a low-tech greenhouse, usually you would have no food production during the summer. With waste to cooling, you can produce in a low-tech greenhouse throughout the whole year. And if you compare, for example, the cost of high-tech greenhouses to deliver this all-year production, our solution with waste to cooling and low-tech greenhouse is 40 times cheaper. For leafy greens, the high-tech greenhouse is significantly more expensive than our solution, which is the low-tech greenhouse. Our low-tech greenhouse is half the cost compared to high-tech greenhouses. We're also focusing on new technology development. So for example, using water bottles or actually building big walls of rock. The team for Tadweer is Professor Hilke from KAUST. He's from the Netherlands and has a lot of experience in greenhouses. My name is Julian David Hunt. I am the technology developer. I had this idea of this technology. Summer is also from KAUST. He's responsible for developing the business. Ahmed is responsible for building the pilot plant and the plants. Kamal is going to invest in the technology and he will also bring customers because he has already built around 300 greenhouses in Saudi Arabia. These are the potential customers. There are many other customers for the technology. We have participated in a Saudi Water Week in Jeddah presenting our startup. And we'll be very happy to hear from you. Please send an email, contact us. We'll be very happy to develop this technology together with you. Thank you so much.